You are not the same person you were 10 years ago. Not metaphorically, physically. Most people hear that and think it's just a figure of speech. You know, people change, you've grown, but we mean it literally. The body you are sitting in right now is built almost entirely out of different material than the body you had a decade ago. Most people picture their body as one continuous thing, slowly aging like an old house that wears down a little more every year. But that's not quite right. It's more like the house is being demolished and rebuilt, room by room, while you're still living inside it, and you never even notice the construction crew. Start with something simple, your skin. It replaces itself roughly every few weeks. The lining of your gut turns over even faster. Some of those cells live only a matter of days before they're shed and replaced. Your red blood cells last about 4 months before your body breaks them down and builds new ones. Even your bones, which feel as solid and permanent as anything about you, are fully remodeled roughly once a decade. So far, this might just sound like normal biology. Cells die, cells get replaced, no big deal. But in 2005, a scientist named Jonas Friesen found a way to prove exactly how far this goes. And the method he used is almost unbelievable. During the 1950s and 60s, above-ground nuclear bomb tests released a massive burst of radioactive carbon into Earth's atmosphere. That carbon spread around the planet, got absorbed by plants, entered the food chain, and ended up inside the DNA of every living person on Earth, including you, if you were alive back then, and even if you weren't. Here's the part that matters. That carbon level in the atmosphere has been dropping in a known measurable pattern ever since. Which means if you measure how much of that carbon is sitting inside a single cell's DNA, you can calculate almost the exact year that cell was born. Friesen basically turned every human cell into a tiny built-in timestamp. His findings, published in the journal Cell, were staggering. Most cells in the human body are younger than 10 years old. Not you, not your body as a whole. The individual cells making up your organs, tested one by one. If you ran this test on almost any part of yourself, the material wouldn't be you from a decade ago at all. It would be new, recently built, practically fresh off the production line. And here's where it gets stranger, because Friesen didn't stop at skin and blood. He ran the same carbon test on the brain, specifically on the neurons in your cerebral cortex, the part of your brain responsible for thought, memory, personality, basically everything that feels like you when you think about who you are. And these cells told a completely different story. Published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2006, the follow-up study found that cortical neurons are essentially the exact same age as you are. They were formed before you were born, or in your very first years of life. And after that, they are never replaced, not once, for your entire life. Which means the part of you that is reading these words right now, the part doing the actual thinking, is made of the oldest material in your entire body, while your skin, your gut lining, and your blood are constantly being torn down and rebuilt from scratch. The neurons responsible for your thoughts have been sitting quietly inside your skull since childhood. They will still be there, mostly unchanged, until the day you die. So now you have two completely opposite stories happening inside one body at the same time. Most of you is new, but the part of you doing the noticing is ancient. And it turns out there's a third story too, one that doesn't fit neatly into either category. Your heart. In 2009, a researcher named Olaf Bergmann, working with the same lab, applied the same carbon dating trick to heart muscle cells. Published in the journal Science, the results showed that heart cells do get replaced, just at an incredibly slow, gradually shrinking rate. At age 25, your heart replaces about 1% of its muscle cells every year. By the time you're 75, that rate has dropped to under 0.5% per year. Add it all up, and over an entire lifetime, less than half of your heart's original cells are ever exchanged. Most of it stays with you, slowly aging, barely renewed. But even that isn't where this gets strangest, because so far, we've only been talking about cells that are actually technically yours. There's another layer to this, and it's even harder to wrap your head around. In 2016, a team of researchers, Ron Sender, Shay Fuchs, and Ron Milo, set out to answer a deceptively simple question: how many of the cells in your body are actually human? For years, the popular answer people repeated was that bacteria outnumber human cells by 10 to 1. You may have even heard that exact statistic before. It turns out that number was wrong. Published in the journal PLOS Biology, their revised count found something almost as strange as the original myth. The average adult human body contains roughly 30 trillion human cells and roughly 38 trillion bacterial cells living on your skin, inside your gut, coating the inside of your mouth right now as you listen to this, which means that cell for cell, slightly more of what is currently occupying your body isn't human at all. It's bacteria, constantly reproducing, dying, and getting replaced on their own separate timeline inside the exact same skin you call yours. So it's not only that your own cells keep getting swapped out for new ones, it's that at any given moment, a huge portion of what's physically occupying the space of you was never you to begin with. So picture your body less like a single object getting older and more like a city under permanent uneven construction. A city that also happens to be full of residents who were never on the original blueprint. Some neighborhoods, skin, blood, the lining of your gut, get torn down and rebuilt constantly, sometimes within weeks. Other neighborhoods, like your cortex, are protected historic buildings. Nobody is allowed to touch them. They stand exactly as they were built for 100 years if you live that long. A few neighborhoods, like your heart, are renovated so slowly that most of the original structure quietly outlives everyone who was there when it was built. And scattered through every district of the city, there are entire populations living and working who were never part of the original construction plan at all. You are not one age. You are dozens of ages layered on top of each other, walking around in the same skin, which raises an uncomfortable question. If almost none of your physical material stays the same, and a huge share of it was never even human, what exactly makes you you? Philosophers have argued about a version of this question for over 2,000 years in a thought experiment called the ship of Theseus. A ship has every one of its planks replaced over time, one by one, until not a single original piece of wood remains. Is it still the same ship? Most people's instinct is to say yes, because the shape stayed the same, the function stayed the same, the story of the ship continued unbroken. You are that ship, except somehow stranger than the ship, a few of your planks, the ones doing the thinking, were never replaced at all. So here's what's actually true about you. All at once. You are mostly new material, rebuilt so many times over your life that almost nothing of your childhood body remains. And you are also, somehow, mostly original material. Because the part of you having this exact experience, reading these exact words, was built once, a long time ago, and it never left. Both of those things are true at the same time, in the same body. So the next time someone tells you that you've changed, that you're not who you used to be, they might be more right than they realize. Almost everything that makes up your physical body has already been quietly replaced and will be replaced again long before you're done living in it. Except the part of you doing the noticing, that part was built once and it never left.